And viewers, we begin with breaking news coming in. This time it's Donald Trump who is having a meltdown of epic proportions. Why are we saying this? Because he's gone on an abusive rant against Iran. He's unhinged on Truth Social, and this time he's using expletives, he's using threats, and he's using warnings. The words that he's used on this post, we can't say that out loud in a live broadcast on television, but I can just read out parts of what Donald Trump has said. As the deadline nears, as his Hormuz deadline reminder and the deadline for the same nears, Donald Trump seems to be losing nerve. He says on Truth Social, and I quote, "Tuesday will be power plant day and bridge day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There will be nothing like it." So this is part one of his post. And in the second part of it is when the abuses fly. He says, "Open the dash straight, you crazy dash, and you'll be living in hell. Just watch." This is how Donald Trump is threatening Iran. The language is absolutely shocking, but it's not unexpected from the President of the United States. Going across to my colleague Rishabh, Donald Trump has gone on an abusive tirade. Many would say he seems to be losing nerve. He seems to be losing narrative. And right now, he is warning that come Tuesday, and power plants will be blown up. Bridges will be blown up in Iran. And then he, tells Iran, open the dash straight, you dash up, and the abuses continue.
Well, this is just the beginning of Easter Sunday in U.S., Sagarika, if you see. And the way this rant has come in, it is difficult as diplomatic reporters to comprehend what exactly the gentleman is thinking. Is this something coming in from the head of state, or is it a troll on social media coming out as a meltdown? There is a deadline that is going to end tomorrow. Monday evening is what the US time Monday evening is the deadline, which means Tuesday morning for us. But the way ahead of deadline these statements are coming, it showcases that there is a desperation. There's definitely a desperation. There is a pressure that has been built, and now Washington is unable to take that pressure. There's a pressure coming in from Europe. There's a pressure coming in from Asia. The allies are questioning the leadership, and allies are not coming on board. That is the biggest frustration that Donald Trump as President of the United States have, that there has been only cold replies, the cold calls that Washington has done to Europe, and every time they have called, there has been a reply, a straight no to intervene militarily in Strait of Hormuz. UK, on the other hand, has now decided to bring in about 40 countries, 40-plus countries on board to look for a diplomatic solution, which means that there's a snub from UK and France and Germany and Spain for United States. Australia is speaking in the same language. India hasn't been something that US can count on as a friend or ally in this conflict. Except Israel, we haven't heard any country, even those, the GCC countries, Sagarika, has not come out openly against Iran or supporting US. They all suggest that there should be an amicable solution to this conflict. That is something that has further irritated Donald Trump, and this statement that has come in. It's difficult to publicly read out the statement, as well as you mentioned.
Yes,
on
but
the live broadcast.
it's a sign of frustration. And, this comes on a day when Donald Trump has been claiming success with regards to the other mission that the U.S. gained some success on, the way they saved their airmen. But this, when it comes to the Hormuz deadline, this is a rant, and it is abusive. It showcases frustration because there is no support. Allies are not ready to support you. The European nations are pushing back, and now Donald Trump knows that the only option that he's left with is issuing warning after warning, threat after threat, because Iran is also pushing back. Iran has refused to back down or blink.
Iran has not only decided not to back down or blink, Iran has gone on offensive in narrative war as well. The way they have been continuously mocking United States and Donald Trump is something that's far beyond imagination. Who would have thought, Sagarika? And both of us were on air on 28th of February when this war began. All the experts we spoke to that day decided, unanimous, call was that this war will end in a week, 10 days, 12 days. One gentleman said that I think it would be for 14 days. 37th day we are talking, Sagarika.
Yes.
Iran is standing strong. Yes, they have incurred.
And since day one, Rishabh, he's been talking about how US has won the war, US has won decisively. But like you said, yes, we are in the 37th day, and now this seems to be, the biggest sign of Donald Trump's frustration. Patikrit Pen is also with us. Patikrit, I'm sure you've read the recent post of Donald Trump. The abuses are flying off the handle, and Donald Trump this time is saying Tuesday is going to be power plants day, it's going to be bridge day, and this strike will be, like no other. And then he tells Iran, open the dash straight. It's an abuse that he's used, and then he's called them crazy dash. I can't obviously use those words, but what is this reeking of frustration and desperation?
It's kind of strange. We never realized one day we would be discussing about such statements being given by the president of the so-called largest and the most powerful country of the world. But that's how the reality is. I think the problem is with Trump's advisors, who actually oiled him up to believe that the war will end the way it had in case of Venezuela ending before it started. But Iran is no Venezuela, Iran is no Iraq. They would have realized that, in spite of the fact there is no comparison with the Americans' air superiority and that of Iran, it has to be acknowledged without taking any side that Iran has shown considerable resilience in terms of horizontal escalation, in terms of its capacity to reach out to different countries, Arab countries and Israel, with the kind of arsenal they have. So they could have, instead of anticipating that the war will end within a matter of few months, a few hours, if they had actually planned it out and, projected that it will take time, then probably this kind of frustration would not have come up. The problem with Trump is this, that now he realizes that this war is not going to end so soon, and there is no proper exit strategy. And so this is going to have an impact so far as global energy pricing is concerned, impact within its own country, the impact on the Wall Street, the impact of their own investors, and the overall sentiment of the world so far as believing in America as being the net security guarantor. That is certainly not going to work out. Pete Hegseth was heard in a House hearing saying that he had terminated or asked 8 generals to go. In a war of a matter of 1 month, if you ask 8 generals of your army to go, then certainly it believes it can be presumed that things are not under your control. And he said that he asked those 8 generals to go at the pleasure of president, because they work at the pleasure of a president. I mean, the generals don't work at the pleasure of the president. If that is how you conduct, then operations will always have a problem. It is a war. There can be casualties on the American side also. The problem is that the Americans created an air of invincibility, that they cannot be touched, no one will get killed. It is a damn war. In a war, casualties will happen. But that aura of invincibility that Trump actually created is actually getting pumped out right now. That is the problem.
And that is why we are having to discuss posts like these, abusive to say the least, where there are threats flying, warnings flying, and no control when it comes to the kind of language that the head of state would use. Thank you so much, Patikrit, for joining us on this broadcast. With that, viewers, it's time for us to slip into a short commercial break. We'll be back with more news and updates. Stay with us.